Hello everyone, it's Dana here with Love Sola Flowers. I've got you in a different spot here today because I want to try to get like up close and personal with this dyeing. So I want to just go over, I'm calling the video Dyeing Without All the Fuss because I know we get a lot of questions about dyeing and a lot of the stuff is just unnecessary stress. And you don't need to stress out to dye the flowers. It's very easy. You don't have to worry about measurements or anything like that. So I'm just gonna wait for just a minute or two while people jump on. And I have a few flowers here that we're gonna dye tonight. And I just wanna show you a couple little basics. But again, this is like the no fuss way to dye flowers. It's how I dye my flowers for my weddings. I don't measure things. I don't go ratios or anything like that. So I know a lot of times we get these questions about ratios and stuff. Thanks, Martha. But we are not going to talk about ratios or anything like that. Hey, Trish, because the whole point is that it can be simple and it can be for a bride who is doing this for the first time. It could be for a crafter. Thanks, Nancy. It could be, hey, Sarah. Great, Diane. So then, yeah, so this is like a video for like newbies, but also for all of you that stress if you have businesses or anything else and you're constantly stressing about colors and dyes, like don't do it, okay? Don't worry about glycerin. Don't worry about water or paint. We're gonna do it the easiest way tonight. I'm gonna show you a couple different things. As you can tell, I've been dyeing all day, so it looks like I've murdered someone, but I swear I was just doing burgundy. So I didn't scrub my hand really well because I was like, oh, it's going back in the dye anyway. So I'm going to show you just the things that I do with no frills, no measurements, nothing, okay? So don't ask me what's my ratio or anything because that's the whole point of this video is that you don't need to get so scientific about dyeing your flowers. It should be fun, it should be easy, and there's just a couple tricks on how to do it great. So I'm going to show you again how I do it. So the first, I have a bag here, it's just water. Okay, so the first thing is I do a lot of my dyeing in baggies and I will tell you why I do them in the baggies. So first of all, if you want to do a bunch of flowers, you can put a bunch in the baggie and you can do a shake up, okay? Or you can put it in a container and like line your container with the baggies and do a dip way. And I'm going to show you both ways. How to do it. But the best thing about the reason why I use bags for a few reasons is because it's not good to pour paint down. Yay, Michelle. It's not good to put paint down your sink. And so actually like a lot of places you're not allowed to put paint down your sink. So what ends up happening is you have all these like Tupperwares with paint and then what do? So what I do is I do them in the baggies. I do little batches at a time so that I'm not having huge amounts of paint left over. I just do it in little batches. And then I let it just dry out and I throw my baggies away. So I'm never having to worry about where my paint is going, if it's good for the environment, anything like that. It's just gonna go in my Ziploc bag and then I zip it up and throw it in the trash can as opposed to trying to scrub it down my sink and getting all that stuff, okay? So again, this is just water. Again, this is the no frills basic 101 dyeing, okay? I don't even care what temperature my water is. I know everyone goes, should I do hot? Should I do cold? Should I do whatever? So, hey, Lori. I'm in New Jersey, so we are at least on the same time zone. So this water is actually cold, but I usually just, whatever my sink, whatever temperature my sink comes out, is what I do. So, as you can see, I've got my water here. Again, if you're just joining us, this is the no frills. I'm not measuring, so don't ask me ratios video on dyeing. This is for anybody who wants to dye, newbies, oldies, anybody, okay? So I'm lining my thing because I'm going to do the dip method for my first little tutorial here. Hey, Johnny. Hey, Kimberly. It's been long. I know, Sharon. Hi, Sharon. I was really sick. Really sick. And I finally, do you seal the flowers? No, Kristen, I don't seal the flowers. There's no need to seal the flowers if they're just in your bouquets or anything like that. The only time you would seal flowers is if it's in a wreath on your door and you have chunky weather. Yes. Okay. So yeah, I was sick. and I finally feel better, so I'm able to do this. And I know, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. You guys are so patient with us while I was sick. I was on the couch for about 13 days. So, and I turned 40. I turned 40 this week on the 11th. So that's crazy too. So again, this is the no frills way. I've got water in here. I'm going to show you what I have. I have vegetable glycerin. This is the one I use because I need a lot of it because I dye a lot of flowers. I dye thousands, a month. So I use the big old bottle. I get this from Amazon, but you can get vegetable glycerin from lots of different places. I think Walmart has it. Pharmacies have it. Thanks, Melanie. A bunch of different places. Thanks, Michaela. So it's vegetable glycerin. That's all you want to see is vegetable glycerin. Okay? Again, this is a big jug bottle. This lasts me a couple weeks. This lasts me about 3 weeks with the amount of flowers I dye. But yes, so you're just gonna look for vegetable glycerin. Everyone asks brands, things, doesn't matter. Again, no frills dyeing, guys. This is for any of you who are just getting your flowers and you're like, where do I start? What do I do? So vegetable glycerin. If it says vegetable glycerin, it's good enough. Now, there's so many different debates about glycerin, how much to use, how little to use, how to mix it, whatever, right? So we made a joke in if you guys are in our community group. So we have a community group. It's facebook.com/groups/love Sola flowers. And I made a joke that I do the bloop method because literally that is how I pour my glycerin in for any color. I don't change it for any different color. I literally just bloop it in because if there's any glycerin in your flowers, basically they'll be softer. And as long as you don't have a very heavy hand, they'll be fine, okay? So this is literally how I do it, okay? So when you all ask me measurements and everything and I try to give ratios, it doesn't work because I don't measure. So this is how I do all my flowers, okay? And I sell lots of flowers. So here we go, ready? Okay? Literally, the time it takes me to say bloop is sometimes, that's how, yes, right? Bloop. Like people ask you, like, how do you make your, tomato sauce? I don't know. I just put a smidge of this, swoosh of this. So anyway, that is all I do, okay? Like the time it took me to say bloop is how much glycerin is in this bag. Now, obviously, if you're doing a very little batch and you're doing just like 1 or 2 flowers, you would only need a little bit. But this is going to be enough for a decent amount of flowers. I just stirred it with my finger, as you can see. It doesn't take a long time to dissolve. There's no boiling necessary. Guys, make it as simple as possible. You want to enjoy doing this. And I just hate when we make things so complicated, and it's not complicated. I've been doing this now for 4 years. My flowers are fine. I've never had any chipping or anything else. So this method of not measuring works out fine too, okay? And it's a lot of just testing, So I put my glycerin in, swirled it around with my finger. That's it, okay? Enough for a bloop. I'm gonna do a very burgundy red color. About how many flowers for that amount of liquid? Well, it depends on what color because how much paint you're gonna put in it. But this probably would do about 50 flowers, again, depending on what color. It's like it'll be about half my baggies worth. The bag is a gallon size Ziploc. But yeah, so I know a lot of you also ask about the paint I use. I use Behr Brand in the trial sizes latex paint. It's called latex acrylic. There's not really actual latex in what we call latex paint. It's actually called latex acrylic. So it's indoor house paint is what I use because it covers really well. You don't need to dip more than once, and it's just a very easy dip. But you can use craft paints like acrylics. You can use dyes, you can use wood stains, you can use lots of different things. You can use indoor house paint of other brands, but Behr is just the one that I go to for a few reasons. If you stick to the same brand, you start to remember color names. So you can go to, your go-to colors. So that's why I stick to the same brand. And also because I have a Home Depot very close to me, and the Home Depot guy and me are friends at this point because I get so many colors. And also because it's not so expensive. A jar like this does at least 100 flowers for me in a normal color. Some of the darker colors like this, they'll maybe a little bit less, but depending on your colors, you can get a really good amount of flowers out of one of these little things. And it's only $4 or something like that. How long do you recommend letting these dry? So I would wait. So don't store any wet, make sure they are dry to the bone before you store them, because you don't want mold to grow on the inside. And because if you look at a flower where they're tied, it can carry some moisture in it when you don't expect it, right? So I would say, and I put them in front of a fan. So mine usually actually dry overnight in front of, I have like one of those big, huge fans, and I put them on a baker's rack. Mine dry overnight, but I wouldn't store them like in a tub even. I would give it like 5 or 6 days to know that they are dry before you put them into like a container, because you don't want to put moist flowers into a container because they won't dry that way, and you don't want to get molds with, you know, wetness. So yeah, so I would just make sure they're like dry. So give it like 5 or 6 days before you store them, okay? But before you use them, you only need to do it like the night before. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna use this burgundy color. So I have my water, I have my little drip of glycerin in there, and I'm gonna show you just the difference in, you know, like how much paint you use and the coverage, just so you can see. So the less paint you use, obviously, the lighter your color tends to be, and it's more translucent. So a burgundy that's very watered down would be like hot pink. Do you get the flower? I am new here. Do you get the flowers? Where do we get the flowers? Is that what you're asking, Heather? It's lovesolaflowers.com. Okay, that's the website. We are having our big New Year's sale right now. It's up to 75% off. So Love Sola, LUVSOLA flowers.com. We are having our big New Year's sale still going on. You can dye right away. It's better to dye like sooner than later, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself. No bride wants to, you know, be in a rush and go crazy and with you know, that kind of stuff. No one wants to go through that. So I would say dye them as soon as possible. Store them up once they're completely dry. We do have a blog on how to store and take care of your Sola and your fillers. We have a blog on our website, lovesolaflowers.com. Like I said, there's a blog section that has so much information. It has videos, and I think a lot of people miss it, but it does give you a way to store your flowers. So if you're asking about storing, it's in there. Okay, so did you see I just put a little drip of paint? So I just want to show you how your color changes when you add more paint. So obviously a red color, if you're wanting it super true to the color that's on your swatch, you're going to want to use a lot of paint, okay? Because the more paint, the closer to your color it's going to be. Now, if it's very watered down, a red will look a little pink and it will look a little translucent. If that's the color you're going for, that's fine. If you want to do one color and just keep watering it down or adding more paint, you can do a whole bunch of shades that way. But right now I have very, very little paint in my thing, and I just want to show you what it looks like if I dip it in with just a little paint in my water. Now this is all you're going to have to do. You just test it, because you can keep dipping your flower until you get your right color, you know, and sometimes people use like old flowers that maybe they're not using or needing, and they can test the color. So if you can see, this is very watered down. So as you can see, look at my chip. Do you see how much lighter it is than my chip? And it's also translucent. You can see the grain because there's not much paint in here. Now, I want this to be a very true burgundy color to match the chip that my bride gave me, okay? So what I'm gonna need to do is I'm going to have to add more paint. Now again, do I measure it? No, I just keep adding paint until it's like the color that I did. Now, of course, after you get experienced, you're gonna kind of naturally know what colors and how much paint. So I did another bloop of my paint here. I'm just mixing it up with my finger again. So as you can see, I added more paint in there. Now, this is still going to be not enough paint, because I know, again, naturally, I know that I need a whole lot of paint. I'm going to need more paint than water to get that really deep red color. But I'm just going to show you on the other side of my flower, when I added more paint, you can see how much more solid the color is. Do you see how much more solid and how much more of that darker color it gets? So again, the more paint you add, the truer it will be to the paint in the container. Okay, so for a red or for an orange or a navy blue, for any of those really deep dark colors, you're gonna wanna use a lot of paint, compared to your water because you're wanting it to be true. So as you can see, these are 2 shades. Now, again, if you're making something where you're like wanting everything to be in the same shade, just different, you know, different depthness, then you can use one color and just keep adding water or not. So I'm going to add now the amount of paint I will add to make it this color. But again, just do testing. If you're new to it, just test and have like fun. It's not like you need to go, oh my gosh, I can't believe, you know, I did this and now one flower is too light, because you just add more paint and you make it darker. So the other thing about it is you're going to want to start, why mix with your finger? You know why, Veronica? Because a spoon, it can still, like, you might miss chunks. When I put my finger in it, I can feel if there's any chunks or if there's any, sometimes the paint, you know, has those like little strings, I don't know what to call them, you know, like the sticky piece of the, that goes on the lid. If I put my hand in it, I can feel. I know it's weird, but I like to have the feeling of it to know that we're good. So right now I have more paint in here than I do have my water. So it's going to be the right color. I'll use a different one just so you can see it. And now this is now my true color, okay? So as you can see, here, let me get a little closer. Let me drip it here. Okay, so as you can see, the difference between watered down and a lot of paint, okay? Because you're going to want that red color to be really, really red and burgundy. Okay, so I'm gonna show you now how to dip it, okay? So that's how you mix your paint, but now we're gonna dip it. I'm gonna dip my whole flower in. When your flowers come, obviously they were shipped. Sherry, we have a video on lilacs. Anybody who is new to the page, we have a video tab that you'd be watching this video on, and there is one on lilacs, just so you know. So we have all our tutorials stored in that video tab on our business page. So when we ship things, you know, obviously a bunch of flowers in a box, they can get a little bit misshapen. That's not damage. A little bit of water, or if you're dyeing, you're gonna fix it up and fluff it up while you're in there. So I'm gonna show you. So I'm gonna take my flower, and I'm gonna dip, okay? Once I get it all dipped in, I'm gonna peel back my petals, and if they're wet enough, they'll go very easily, they'll move very easily, so you don't have to worry. But if it gives you a little pull, it means you didn't wet it enough, you're gonna wanna go in. Then, after I have now opened up my petals, I now have more white spots again. So I'm gonna go back in, I'm gonna dip it in, I'm gonna make sure I'm rotating it around. I kind of scoop it up so it gets down in the center. And then you want to really shake out your flour, okay? Because you don't want all that extra liquid sitting in the center of your flour, because it'll take, you know, forever to dry. Now, some people, you know, start their flowers upside down drying. I never do, because the face of my flour is obviously more important than the back of my flour. So I always dry them face up. I don't flip them. And I put them right down on my cookie sheet, and then I put my cookie sheet down in my baker's rack. Let me see, that's not in the video, so let me show you. Okay, so as you can see, my arm doesn't go that way. Okay, so as you can see, I just pulled out any of those petals that may have been a little squished. I made it perfect. If you can see now, it's a perfect rose. I think I probably could even add a little more paint. And you can see, let me see if I can get it dark, 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 so you can just see the difference. I want to be able to show you. A drip of glycerin. Veronica, when the video is over, we'll share the video and you can watch it from the beginning. I showed you the bottle of the glycerin that I used in there. Okay, so I'm going to dip this one that I had that was really watered down. I'm going to dip that one in there. And again, I'm going to just rotate it in. Thanks, Freda. It was crazy. This is called a New Beauty, Lori. Okay, and then again, I'm just gonna open up my petals. Okay, see? And then again, once I open up my petals, there's probably gonna be some white spots because the paint didn't get in there yet. So I do one more little rotation. I can't shake too hard because I'm in my living room, actually, not my kitchen right now. So I don't want to shake too hard and get it all over my living room. But shake it really good so it gets the center out. I save it for about 4 days or so, but I'm pretty good at knowing how much I need to fill my baggie up to not have extra. So, so I try not to have extra paint if I don't have to. I try not to store any. Okay, so do you see how good we got this? So again, even if your flower is a little bit squished, it's called fluffing. We're just going to just do that while it's in the dye, while it's wet, okay? I know a lot of people say, should I spray it with glycerin and then fluff it and then dye it later? No, do it all in one process, guys. This is about no frills dyeing. This is about doing it as easy as possible, just, you know, whatever. Okay, so here's my last one. I'm gonna do a little dip again. I'm gonna scoop it, and then I just pull back the petals. Again, because this color is dark, I have more paint than water. If you're just joining us, you can see what it looks like when it's too watered down. So when you dye your first flower, you dip it in. If it's too translucent and it's not close to the color it's supposed to be, add more paint. You just keep adding more paint. You don't have to try to go, you know, what's the ratio? Let me take a tablespoon out. Let me do this. Guys, just do it easier. Just do it, you know, the easiest way possible. That's what I say. All right, let me move these guys over so I can fit the next ones. Okay, the next flower I'm gonna do is a white peony. I know that some people get nervous with peonies because they are curls up. I have a white peony and I have a closed peony that I'm gonna do in this same color. And the trick for a peony is to not get it so saturated. So we're gonna do a quick dip. I'm not gonna touch the petals because if you try to open up the petals in a peony, then you're gonna pull out that little, you know, squeezed kind of curled edge. Okay, so again, the trick for a peony is to get in and out as fast as possible, but we wanna make sure that we hit all of the spots. So I'm just gonna do a quick dip down, and then I let the liquid kind of go in the middle. Okay, now if you want, you can put these face down. If you really wanted to keep that tight curl, you can put them face down just for till they dry just a little bit, but I don't mind them opening just a teeny bit. They still look like a beautiful peony. I know, my hands, people are so grossed out usually by my hands because I just live with paint on my hand, but it is what it is. Okay, so that's how I did my peony. Quick dip in, quick dip out. I just broke this petal, but super new. Getting ready to do your first arrangements. What do you like to use for stems? We, all of our customers use about 18 gauge wire stems. Some use 16 gauge wire stems. You need at least 16 or 18 gauge. Again, most people use 18 gauge because it's flexible but still strong. And we do have a video on how to stem. So that's in our blogs, also in our video tab. And it's super simple to stem, but the 18 gauge really holds it well, and yet it's still flexible. Okay, I'm gonna go in real fast again. I let that paint kind of be in the center. Do one more quick pass. And then I kind of like shape it myself, where I kind of squeeze in. Yeah, so bamboo, the thing with bamboo is it's okay for like a box, but it's hard to make a bouquet with bamboo because it doesn't bend and you can't move your flowers into the shape that you need it to be. The wire stems, you can get them on Amazon, you can get them at Walmart, you can get them at any craft store. It's just 18 gauge wire stems. You can get them cloth wrapped if you like. You can get them paper wrapped. I use a paper wrap from Amazon one. Because it's a bulk, you know, obviously when you buy it in bulk, it's usually a little cheaper. Okay, so I squeeze that and now I'm just putting it down on my tray. Okay, and now I'm gonna do a closed peony again. We're going in and out fast. Ready? I'm going in, I let it spin around the center, and then I do one last quick dip. Peonies are my favorite flowers. I use them in almost every one of my weddings if it allows for it. And you see the closed peony stays pretty closed. I'm gonna put that there. And again, I put them down on a baker's rack in front of a fan. You can just put them on your cookie sheets. You can leave them right there on your cookie sheets. Some people put them on paper towels. I always get nervous it'll stick, but you can do a any drying process. I don't. So if you saw some of our earlier videos, you might hear us talking about oven drying. I do not oven dry now that we use glycerin in there because it tends to smoke. I do know that some people's ovens, like if they crack it, it doesn't smoke, but my oven does smoke with the glycerin. When there was no glycerin, it was fine, but now that there's glycerin, it does smoke, and so I don't like that in my house, obviously. So I do let it air dry, but I use one of those big fans. So yes, yes. And even like people put them in little paper cups and stuff too. But I don't mind them opening just a teeny tiny bit. Now, again, if you're using the bag method, instead of a Tupperware, you can Ziploc that up, and then you have your paint here that you can use. It lasts in a bag for, I keep it about 5 days. But I try not to make extra. I actually have 100 or so flowers I gotta dye in this color, so that's why I didn't mind making some extra. Hi, Nellie. Hey, Brittany. Okay, let me put this down, and we're gonna do how I swoosh it around in the bag method. So if you're just joining us, you're gonna get to see one more way that I do dyeing. If you are still needing to shop, our sale is still going on. It's up to 75% off. You don't need a code. Our fillers and our Fifth Avenue is on sale as well. So go check that out on lovesolaflowers.com. So again, we are, Kayla, it sometimes with the glycerin too, it gets like chunky on the bottom, and then it's annoying to try to pull the chunks off. Victoria, I'm gonna do another one. So I'm gonna show you again exactly how I did it. Hey everyone who's just joining. I'm gonna show you again. This is called like the no fuss dyeing. I'm not measuring, I'm not doing ratios. I literally drip and test, okay? So I'm gonna show you again. Vegetable glycerin, okay? I get this one on Amazon. But if you need a smaller amount, if you're not doing a ton of flowers, you can get them in other places. I know pharmacies carry it. I know Walmart does, but it's called vegetable glycerin. That is what to get. I don't go crazy about measuring and things like that. I literally just do a little bloop of it, and that's how all my flowers come out soft. I don't have a heavy hand on it, but okay, I'm gonna show you. Ready? Literally enough to go down and up. That's it. Down and up, and I'm done. Okay? And as long as you're not doing a teeny tiny little amount, that'll be enough for a bag's worth, okay? Don't go crazy. So you can see my glycerin in here. Don't stress out about how much. It's not needing to be complicated. You want to enjoy yourself. Crafting is supposed to be fun and relaxing. So don't get stressed. Okay, so this is again Bear Home Paint. Again, I use Bear because the Home Depot is close to me. The trial sizes go a pretty far way, and they're not expensive. So this is why I use it. You can do indoor paint from other stores and other brands. And of course you can use craft paint. Craft paint tends not to have as much coverage, and it tends to be a little crispier. So that's why I like to use the indoor. It's called latex paint, but there's no, I know some people say, oh, are we allergic to latex? It's called latex paint. That's just what they naturally call it, but there is actually no latex in them anymore. It's actually a latex acrylic paint, but it's indoor house paint. And again, so I did my little loop of my glycerin. I'm gonna do the same with my paint. Okay, I just poured it in, and then I use a little bit more. So it's kind of like a 2-to-1 probably in my bag right now. And I'm just gonna zip this up, okay? So again, the first one, I had water first, and I put my glycerin in my water and then my paint. This time I just mixed my glycerin with my paint. So again, it's not like a complicated thing. You can do it either way. It's not that it has to be hot, cold, whatever, right? Easy. So now I've got my water here. I've got a pitcher of water down here. It's a gallon, Madeline. Okay. So I'm just showing you how I did it reverse, because some people want to do paint first because they want to get that mixed up. Some want to do water first. So I'm just showing you just, a couple different ways. So I'm going to add my water in here. Remember, the more water you have, the more translucent your color will be, meaning you're going to see more grain. Okay. Flowers already die without glycerin. Can you spray them? Yes, you can. You can use, like those little spritz bottles. It will. It won't get them as soft as when you do it with the dye, but you can soften it after. So anyway, more water. Have you ever added glitter? No, Michelle, if I'm gonna do, there are metallic latex paints. You can use the metallic. Thanks, Luann. If you want glitter, there's like spray-on glitter that I always put on at the end. Because if you put glitter in the paint, the glitter gets covered by the paint. It won't be sparkly. Okay, so I put some water in here. Remember, the more water, the more translucent, the more grain, and the less close it looks like your actual chip. Remember, the more paint, the closer you are to getting your exact color. Okay, so with this pink, it doesn't need as much paint as like a red because it's a nice soft color. It's easier to get a nice full color with that. So I have my bag, and I'm gonna show you my little shake the bag method here. Okay, instead of dipping it, is there a general rule with certain types of flowers? So yeah, so any of the flowers that have curled or rolled edges, you shouldn't do a dip paint in it. You can hand paint them and spray paint them and do airbrushing type things, but you shouldn't do a dip dye on those because it could uncurl. Now there are tricks that people use, but again, for this basic 101, you know, how to dye flowers, they are more complicated than that. So this is just the no frills dyeing, okay? So look, I put my flowers in here. You can put a bunch of flowers. I squeeze my bag tight and I shake it until I go around. And I'm gonna show you again, these were lotuses. So I'm gonna show you how to fluff them up. Okay, so they're in the bag. I'm gonna take them out. Okay, this is just because when we ship, you know, some of the petals need to just be put into their shape. I like lotuses open, so I'm gonna open this up and just peel back my outer petals here. Okay, do you see it's pretty solid pink? Because I did do probably about a 2-to-1 paint to the water and glycerin. So let's see, what is the pink color for the burgundy and the pink? The burgundy is called Rumors, and the pink is called Retro Pink. Do you have to add water? Oh no, yeah, never do paint. You can't just do straight paint. It would be so thick, it would just goop. It would never coat your flower. So you definitely have to water it down. The darker colors, you need less water. Lighter colors, you can, you know, do a little bit more of the water. I'm just peeling these little guys open. Now, once you open them, you want to take a peek to make sure you didn't leave any white spots, because sometimes, obviously, when you peel back, you might be opening yourself up for white spots. So that is all I'm doing. A quick fluff. You do not need to fluff ahead of time or any of that. You do it while you dye, because once your flowers are wet, they're completely moldable. But you want to mold them while they're wet, okay? Because once they dry, whatever shape you opened it into is the shape that it will be. So, and then you'd have to re-wet it if you wanted to change it. So I'm just opening this guy a little bit more. Okay, so he's opened now. Okay, so you can do two things. You can do the dip method, or you can put them in the bag and just shake it on up. Sometimes shaking it in the bag, you know, tends to be faster because you could do a bunch, but then you got to obviously look at each flower anyway, make sure you hit all the coverage. So let's just go over the general rules of doing dyeing easily. And then just a reminder for any of you joining us now, got a little pink on this one. Oops, my pink dripped on my burgundy, but we'll just put them back there. So here's our general rule. If you are shopping, Love Sola Flowers is having their sale up to 75% off. You don't need a coupon code. And Fifth Avenue and fillers are on sale as well. And they're already marked down, and you can see the prices on those. So, general rule, you want to use vegetable glycerin, okay? Vegetable glycerin. You do not need to worry about how much in a stressful way, okay? Literally a bloop, okay? Just do it that way and it works out every time, because you just need a little softener if you're going to be using, especially the indoor house paint. That already makes your flowers, you know, a little bit less crispy anyway. Then you're going to add your paint or your water, whichever one is, you know, first. It doesn't matter. But again, more paint, it's closer to the actual color of your paint chip. Less paint will give you a more translucent look and a lighter color. And you're just gonna keep adding paint until you love it, okay? So again, don't go crazy on how much and how, you know, this and that. Literally just dip it, and if you like it, leave it. If you need it darker, you add more paint. If you need it lighter, you add more water. And that's really how simple it is. You don't have to try to stress yourself out. Again, this is supposed to be something that's fun and enjoyable, especially for you brides. You don't need any more stress, okay? So I hope that, you know, a little bit of the basic has helped you. Yeah, don't be intimidated. It's super easy. But yeah, so, and if you're just joining us now and you're a little confused on everything, you can go back and start this video over once I share it. But remember, we have the blogs, we have the video tab, and we have the community group. So don't be intimidated. We have all of those tools for you. It's super easy. And just try to enjoy it without worrying about all the numbers and measurements and all of that kind of stuff. So I guess we just wanted to encourage some of you, because we know that some of you are a little stressed out sometimes with the dyeing and stuff. Just recently I've noticed a bunch of people stressed out about dyeing, and it doesn't need to be stressful. And I think that when, you know, a lot of us experts and who are in the wedding field, we start talking and we start giving ratios and numbers, it can become overwhelming, but really it doesn't need to be that difficult. So we hope that this little kind of easy dyeing 101 without the frills makes it feel doable and easy. And yeah, what would you suggest for dyeing more flowers at a time? I mean, you could do bigger buckets. If you fill this whole bag, I've done 18 flowers at a time in just this gallon bag. So you can use the bag, but just doing bigger buckets. But I don't know, I don't think, for me personally, I don't like to do 1 million at a time. So I like to do, like, you know, maybe 5 at a time, just so that I can fluff them all nicely and make sure that they're perfect. So that's just my own thing. So yeah, the sale is ending soon, guys. Don't miss out on the sale, okay? Especially that 1,000 box. I know a lot of you have gotten the 1,000 box because it is a lot of flowers for not a lot of money. You get a really good assortment. We do have a video from Black Friday actually showing kind of what the mix looks like, so you're not nervous or scared that you're getting like one flower and 1,000 of them. You get a lot of assortment, you get a lot of different sizes, so it's really good. Have bridesmaids too. Yeah, like a lot of brides will have all their friends come over and dye together and stem together, and it's really fun. So again, doing it this method where you're just kind of testing and taking it easy is the best way to not be stressed about it. So we hope this was helpful, and we will see you next week for another tutorial. We are going to do some more basic videos again for some of you newbies. So if you are new or if you're a bride, don't worry, we're going to go through some of the basics again, just so that everybody is reminded about how to kind of do things easily. So that's it. All right, guys, have a good weekend. Bye.